Before the sold-out stadiums, before the billions of streams, before the world learned to sing in Spanish without translation, there was a kid from Vega, Baja, Puerto Rico, with headphones on, dreaming bigger than the island horizon. They call him El Conejo Malo, but the world knows him as Bad Bunny. He didn't wait for permission, he didn't follow the formula, he didn't translate his sound to fit the mainstream. He forced the mainstream to translate itself. In an industry dominated by English language pop, he rose to the top of the global charts, rapping entirely in Spanish. No crossover gimmicks, no compromises, just rhythm, just culture, just truth. From underground SoundCloud uploads to becoming Spotify's most streamed artist in the world multiple years in a row. From local trap beats in Puerto Rico to rewriting the rules of global pop music. His rise wasn't gradual, it was seismic. He didn't arrive through the front door of the music industry. He blasted through the wall, recruits with bass-heavy beats, unapologetic lyrics, painted nails, bold fashion, and a voice that refused to be boxed in. He challenged masculinity. He amplified Latin identity. He made the world dance and listen. This is not just a story about fame, it's a story about cultural power, about pride, about rebellion. This is the story of a supermarket bagger who became a global icon, the story of how Puerto Rico's sound shook the planet. This is the story of Bad Bunny. Long before the sold-out stadiums, before the designer sunglasses and global headlines, there was Benito Antonio Martínez Ocasio, born on March 10, 1994, in Vega, Baja, Puerto Rico, a coastal town where music wasn't just entertainment, it was oxygen. His mother was a school teacher. His father worked as a truck driver. His family wasn't rich in money, but they were rich in rhythm. On Sundays, young Benito sang in the church choir, soft hymns, structured melodies, but during the week, he absorbed the sound of the streets. Reggaeton legends like Daddy Yankee and Hector El Father echoed from car speakers and neighborhood parties. The island had its own pulse, and Benito felt it. He was quiet, observant, creative. While other kids played outside, he often stayed inside writing lyrics, experimenting with flows, imagining stages far bigger than Vega, Baja. But his dreams didn't look realistic. Puerto Rico had talent, but global superstardom, that felt distant. Still, he believed something different. He didn't want to leave his culture behind to succeed. He wanted to bring his culture with him. As a teenager, he began recording music in his bedroom. Cheap microphones, simple software, raw emotion. There was no label backing him, no industry connections, just Wi-Fi. He uploaded his tracks to SoundCloud while studying audiovisual communication at university and working as a grocery store bagger by day, behind scanning groceries by night, crafting the sound that would one day shake the world. No one in that supermarket knew that the quiet employee packing bags would soon pack stadiums, because the dream was already alive and the internet was about to change everything. In 2016, the music industry wasn't looking for Bad Bunny, but the internet was. Between university classes and long shifts bagging groceries, Benito recorded songs in his bedroom and uploaded them to SoundCloud. No marketing team, no major studio, no strategy, just raw emotion over Latin trap beats. One track changed everything. Soy Pure. It wasn't polished, it wasn't radio friendly, it wasn't safe, it was honest, moody, vulnerable, melodic. The song spread through Puerto Rico like wildfire, from Bluetooth shares to club DJs to street parties, and then something powerful happened. The streets chose him. Industry heavyweight DJ Luian heard the track and immediately recognized the difference. Bad Bunny didn't sound like anyone else. His voice carried pain and rebellion at the same time. His delivery bent traditional reggaeton rules. He wasn't copying the legends, he was rewriting the genre. Soon he signed with hear this music, and everything accelerated. But what made Soy Pure special wasn't just its success, it was its tone. Bad Bunny introduced a new emotional depth to Latin trap, mixing heartbreak with swagger, melody with grit. He wasn't afraid to sound sad. He wasn't afraid to be vulnerable. He wasn't afraid to look different. Dyed hair, bold fashion, painted nails. In a genre often tied to rigid masculinity, he moved differently, and fans noticed. By the end of 2016, Bad Bunny was no longer a grocery store employee uploading tracks in secret. He was the new voice of Latin trap. And the industry had no choice but to pay attention. The boy from Vega, Baja had gone viral, but this was only the beginning, because his next move would take him far beyond Puerto Rico and onto the global stage. By 2017, Bad Bunny wasn't just buzzing online, he was everywhere. Strategic collaborations pushed him beyond Puerto Rico and into the broader Latin music explosion. Working alongside artists like J Balvin, he began reshaping what reggaeton sounded like on a global scale. But this wasn't just about features, it was about presence. Then came a crossover moment few could ignore. Maya, with Drake, a global superstar singing entirely in Spanish on Bad Bunny's record. That wasn't adaptation, that was influence. The industry began to realize something powerful. Bad Bunny wasn't trying to enter the English-speaking market. The English-speaking market was entering his. In 2018, he released his debut album, X100PRE, and it wasn't predictable. Instead of staying in one lane, he experimented. Trap, reggaeton, rock influences, emotional ballads. Songs like Estamos Bien reflected resilience after Puerto Rico was devastated by Hurricane Maria. Others explored heartbreak, fame, and identity. The album debuted at #1 on the top Latin albums chart, but more importantly, it proved longevity. Bad Bunny wasn't a viral fluke, he was an artist with vision. And beyond the music, his image was evolving. He wore what he wanted, painted his nails, challenged traditional gender expectations in Latin culture. Some criticized him, millions celebrated him, because for many young fans, he represented freedom, freedom to express, freedom to feel, freedom to exist without apology. By the end of 2018, Bad Bunny had done something few Latin artists had achieved. He made Spanish-language trap and reggaeton unavoidable on the global stage, and he did it without changing who he was. But the next era would be even bigger, not just an album, a cultural takeover. In February 2020, just before the world would slow down, Bad Bunny sped everything up. He released YHLQMDLG, short for Yo Hago Lo Que Me Da La Gana. I do whatever I want. It wasn't just an album title, it was a philosophy. From the very first track, the energy was electric. Nostalgic reggaeton rhythms inspired by the early 2000s blended with modern Latin trap and experimental sounds. He paid homage to the pioneers while proving he was leading the future. Songs like Sapphira became chaotic, genre-blending anthems, switching beats multiple times, unpredictable and explosive. Vet carried emotional weight. La Defachel brought smooth swagger. And across the album, he collaborated with legends and rising stars, bridging generations within Latin music. The album debuted at #2 on the Billboard 200, one of the highest charting all-Spanish albums in history at the time. But numbers only told part of the story. Culturally, YHLQMDLG felt like a celebration of identity. During a time when many artists were chasing crossover success by softening their roots, Bad Bunny doubled down on his. He embraced Puerto Rican slang, he referenced island culture, he amplified Caribbean rhythms unapologetically, and fans worldwide followed. For the first time in mainstream global pop culture, millions who didn't speak Spanish were memorizing lyrics anyway. The message was clear, language wasn't a barrier. Energy was universal. Then, in a surprise move, he dropped another project later that year, proving his creative engine never stopped. But YHLQMDLG marked a turning point. It wasn't just his biggest album yet. It was the moment Bad Bunny stopped being the future of Latin music and became its present. Yet, even at the height of celebration, he was preparing something even more personal, something warmer, something that would define an entire summer. In 2022, Bad Bunny didn't just release an album, he released a season, a feeling, a memory. That album was Un Verano Sin Ti, A Summer Without You. Unlike the high-energy chaos of YHLQMDLG, this project felt warmer, more reflective, sun-soaked but emotional. It blended reggaeton, Latin trap, dembow, indie pop, and Caribbean rhythms into something fluid and immersive. Songs like Titi Me Preguntó dominated clubs and TikTok. Mi Porto Bonito became a global anthem. Ojitos Lindos revealed vulnerability and softness. It wasn't just an album you listened to, it was an album you lived in. The project debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, just a historic moment for a Spanish-language album, and it didn't leave. Week after week, it stayed near the top. By the end of the year, Bad Bunny became Spotify's most streamed artist globally, Buos again. But the biggest statement came on stage. When he headlined Coachella, he became the first Spanish-language artist to do so, and he didn't adjust his set list for the audience. He didn't switch to English. He brought Puerto Rico to California. Massive screens displayed messages about Latin identity. The crowd sang every word in Spanish. That moment wasn't just about music, it was symbolic. For decades, Latin artists had to cross over to succeed globally. Bad Bunny proved the world could cross over to them. Un Verano Sin Ti became one of the most streamed albums in history. But beyond numbers, it represented something bigger. Confidence in culture, confidence in language, confidence in self. The boy who once uploaded songs from his bedroom had now redefined what global pop could look like. But Bad Bunny wasn't just dominating charts, he was reshaping conversations because his next chapter wouldn't be about summer vibes. It would be about power. Bad Bunny's influence extends far beyond music. He doesn't just drop albums, he takes positions. In 2019, Puerto Rico erupted in protests demanding the resignation of Governor Ricardo Rosselló. Bad Bunny didn't stay silent. He joined the demonstrations in the streets alongside thousands of Puerto Ricans, not as a distant celebrity, but as one of them, sweating under the sun, marching, chanting. When Rosselló resigned, it was a historic moment for the island, and Bad Bunny had used his platform to amplify the people. But his activism wasn't only political, it was cultural. In a genre long defined by hypermasculine stereotypes, Bad Bunny moved differently. He wore skirts on magazine covers, painted his nails, spoke openly about respect for women and LGBTQ+ communities. At the 2020 The Tonight Show, he wore a shirt honoring Alexa Negron Luciano, a transgender woman murdered in Puerto Rico, demanding justice on live television. That wasn't subtle, that was intentional. He challenged traditional Latin masculinity not with speeches, but with presence, and millions of young fans saw themselves reflected in him. For some, he became a symbol of freedom. Freedom to dress how you want, to feel what you feel, to love who you love. Critics called it controversial. Fans called it necessary. Bad Bunny understood something powerful. Music gives you attention, but courage gives you legacy. By standing firm in his identity, culturally and personally, he proved that success doesn't require assimilation. It requires authenticity. And as his fame grew, so did his impact. But behind the headlines and stadium lights, there was still Benito, the son of Puerto Rico, the kid from Vega, Baja, and the world was about to see a new side of him. At the peak of his music dominance, Bad Bunny did something no one expected. He stepped into a wrestling ring. In 2021, he appeared in WWE, at first as a musical guest. But it didn't stop there. Most celebrities show up for publicity. Bad Bunny trained hard. For months, he practiced real wrestling moves, took real hits, and earned the respect of professional athletes. At WrestleMania 37, he delivered a performance that shocked fans and critics alike. He wasn't pretending, he was committed. And once again, he proved something important. He doesn't enter spaces halfway. If he steps in, he transforms it. But wrestling wasn't the only new arena. Hollywood came calling. He appeared in films like Bullet Train, acting alongside major stars and expanding his presence beyond music. Later, he was announced in projects tied to major superhero franchises, signaling that studios saw him not just as a musician, but as a global personality. And then there was fashion. At events like the Met Gala, Bad Bunny became a headline figure, not just for attending, but for redefining what male artists could wear on the red carpet. Bold silhouettes, floral designs, open-back suits, pearls, and statement pieces. He blurred lines between streetwear and high fashion, between rapper and runway, between artist and icon. Each move outside music strengthened his brand, not as a product, but as a personality. He wasn't just building a career, he was building a universe. From wrestling rings to movie screens to global fashion stages, Bad Bunny showed that his influence wasn't confined to charts. It was cultural, and still, through every expansion, Puerto Rico remained at the center. Because no matter how global he became, he never stopped representing home. Bad Bunny is not just a musician, he is a movement. He turned Latin trap and reggaeton into global phenomena. Without translation, without compromise, without apology. He proved that Spanish-language music can dominate worldwide charts. He proved that culture matters, that identity can be central to a brand, not secondary. He proved that vulnerability, boldness, and creativity can coexist in a world obsessed with formulas. His influence spans generations. Young fans imitate his fashion, older fans respect his authenticity, artists across the globe cite him as inspiration. From bedroom SoundCloud uploads to Coachella stages, wrestling rings, Hollywood sets, and Met Gala red carpets, he has shattered expectations at every turn. Yet the legacy is not just fame or fortune, it is cultural impact. He has rewritten what it means to be a Latin artist in the 21st century. He has opened doors for others and inspired millions to embrace who they truly are. Bad Bunny's story is a testament to the power of vision, courage, and unshakable authenticity. He didn't just change music, he changed how the world sees music. And the echo of El Conejo Malo will resonate for generations to come. Fade out to cheering crowds, Puerto Rico skyline, and Bad Bunny waving from stage. From a quiet boy in Vega, Baja to a global icon, Bad Bunny's journey has been anything but ordinary. He proved that authenticity resonates more than perfection, that identity can be power, that culture, when celebrated fearlessly, can transcend borders. His story isn't just about albums, streams, or sold-out arenas. It's about inspiration, influence, change. And while the world watches, he continues to evolve. The next album, the next collaboration, the next statement, whether in music, fashion, activism, or even wrestling. The truth is, the story isn't over. It's just beginning. Bad Bunny reminds us all that greatness doesn't come from fitting in. It comes from daring to stand out, to be unapologetically yourself. The boy from Puerto Rico didn't just make music, he made history, and the world is still listening. Fade out with a final sweeping shot of a packed stadium, lights flashing, fans singing, his voice echoing over the crowd.